There is a $22 part hiding underneath every Toyota that separates a rough, noisy ride from the smooth, quiet experience Lexus charges $15,000 more to deliver. Most Toyota owners will never know about it because no mechanic will recommend it, no dealership will suggest it, and Toyota will never advertise it. But once you understand what it is and why it works, your Toyota will ride like it just rolled off a Lexus lot. And I am not exaggerating. Here is what most people don't realize. Toyota and Lexus share the same platforms. The Camry and the Lexus ES sit on the same architecture. The Highlander and the Lexus RX share the same underpinnings. The RAV4 and the Lexus NX are mechanical cousins. Same engines, same transmissions, even the same basic suspension geometry. So why does a Lexus feel like you are floating on a cloud, while the Toyota version of the same car rattles over every crack and expansion joint? The answer is not magic. It is not some proprietary Lexus technology that Toyota keeps locked away. The difference comes down to the quality and tuning of one of the smallest, cheapest parts in the entire suspension system, the suspension bushings. Every Toyota has them. They sit inside the front lower control arms, between the stabilizer bar and the frame, inside the rear trailing arms, and at the top of the strut assemblies. These rubber cushions are the only thing standing between the road surface and your body. Every vibration, every impact, every shimmy from a rough highway passes through these bushings before it reaches the cabin. And here is the problem. Toyota uses the most basic rubber bushings the engineering budget allows. They work fine when the car is brand new, but rubber degrades fast. Heat cycles from engine bay temperatures break down the compound. Road salt, oil, and UV exposure accelerate the cracking. Within 40,000 to 60,000 miles, most Toyota suspension bushings have already lost a measurable amount of their damping ability. By 80,000 miles, many are cracked, compressed, or completely separated from their metal sleeves. When that happens, the ride does not just get worse gradually. It changes character. The steering develops a vague, wandering feeling at highway speed. The front end starts clunking over small bumps that the car used to absorb silently. Body roll increases through turns. Tire wear becomes uneven. And the overall ride quality drops from composed to uncomfortable in a way that most owners blame on the struts or shocks. They spend $800 to $1,200 replacing struts that were never the real problem in the first place. Now here is where the $22 upgrade changes everything. The front stabilizer bar bushings, also called sway bar bushings, are the single most impactful and affordable suspension upgrade you can make on a Toyota. These bushings clamp around the stabilizer bar where it passes through two mounting brackets bolted to the subframe. They are located under the front of the vehicle, typically just behind the front wheels, and they are visible without removing any components. The stabilizer bar itself is a thick steel rod that connects the left and right sides of the front suspension. Its job is to resist body roll during turns by transferring force from one side of the car to the other. It can only do that job precisely when the bushings holding it to the frame are tight and responsive. Factory rubber stabilizer bar bushings wear out faster than almost any other bushing in the system because of their position. They sit low on the vehicle, exposed to road spray, salt, gravel impact, and extreme temperature swings. The rubber compound Toyota uses is designed to be soft for noise isolation, but that softness is also its weakness. As the rubber degrades, the stabilizer bar begins to shift and rotate inside the bushing instead of transferring force cleanly. That movement creates the clunking sound Many Toyota owners here going over speed bumps or railroad tracks. It also introduces slop into the suspension that makes the car feel loose and unpredictable, especially at highway speeds. If you made it this far, then consider liking this video, giving it a thumbs up, and subscribing to my channel. This helps me bring you more honest car advice. Replacing those worn factory bushings with upgraded polyurethane stabilizer bar bushings from brands like Energy Suspension, Moog, or Whiteline costs between $15 and $25 for a complete set of 2 bushings with brackets. That is not a typo. For roughly $22, you get a pair of bushings that are engineered from synthetic polyurethane instead of natural rubber. Polyurethane does not crack from ultraviolet exposure. It does not swell or soften when exposed to oil and road chemicals. It resists heat cycling far better than rubber. And most importantly, it holds its shape under load, which means the stabilizer bar stays locked in position and does its job the way Toyota's engineers originally intended. The installation is one of the easiest suspension jobs on any Toyota. The stabilizer bar bushings are held in place by a simple U-shaped bracket secured with 2 bolts on each side. You do not need to lift the vehicle on a full hoist. A floor jack and 2 jack stands are more than enough. The bolts are typically 12 or 14 millimeter depending on the model. You remove the bracket, pull the old bushing off the bar, slide the new polyurethane bushing around the bar through its split design, reinstall the bracket, and torque the bolts back to spec. The entire job takes 30 to 45 minutes with basic hand tools. No spring compressors, no alignment needed, no special equipment. The difference after installation is immediate. And that is not a marketing claim. Forum after forum, owner after owner, the feedback is consistent. The front end tightens up. Clunking noises over bumps disappear. Steering response sharpens noticeably. Body roll through highway on ramps and lane changes decreases. The car suddenly feels like it gained 10 years of youth back. One Toyota owner on a popular forum described the transformation in 3 words: rides like new again. Another said the improvement was more noticeable than when he replaced all 4 struts. Now let me explain why this happens from an engineering standpoint. When the stabilizer bar bushings are worn, every input from the road creates a chain reaction of loose movement. The bar shifts before it transfers force. That delay creates a disconnected feeling between steering input and vehicle response. The suspension geometry is technically still correct, but the compliance in those worn bushings introduces enough play that the system cannot respond the way it was designed to. Fresh polyurethane bushings eliminate that play entirely. Force transfers immediately and cleanly. The suspension works as a coordinated system again instead of a collection of loose parts fighting each other. But stabilizer bar bushings are only the beginning. The second upgrade that pushes the ride into true Lexus territory targets the stabilizer bar end links. These are the short connecting rods that attach the ends of the stabilizer bar to the front strut assemblies or lower control arms, depending on the Toyota model. They are located at each end of the stabilizer bar, behind the front wheels, and they are visible by looking through the wheel spokes or from underneath the vehicle. Each end link has small ball joints or bushings at both ends that allow it to pivot as the suspension moves. When those bushings wear out, the end links develop a rattle that many owners describe as a metallic clinking sound from the front end, especially over uneven pavement. Replacement end links from Moog, which come with greasable fittings for extended service life, typically cost $15 to $25 per pair. Combined with the stabilizer bar bushings, you are looking at $40 to $50 total to completely refresh the front stabilizer system. That is less than the cost of a single oil change at most dealerships. The combined effect of fresh stabilizer bar bushings and new end links transforms how the front suspension manages weight transfer and road impact. The stabilizer bar can now do its primary job of controlling body roll without any interference from worn connecting points. This means the struts and springs can focus entirely on absorbing vertical impacts instead of compensating for lateral slop in the system. The result is a ride that feels planted, composed, and remarkably quiet, exactly what Lexus engineers achieve on vehicles that share the same basic suspension architecture but use higher quality rubber compounds and tighter manufacturing tolerances from the factory. Here is something most people never consider. Lexus does not use exotic suspension technology on most of its models. The ES, the NX, even the RX use conventional McPherson strut front suspension and multi-link or trailing arm rear suspension, the same basic designs found on their Toyota counterparts. The difference is in the details. Lexus uses denser rubber compounds in its bushings. It uses thicker stabilizer bars in some models. It applies tighter tolerance standards during assembly. And it adds sound damping material around suspension mounting points. But the geometry, the engineering, the fundamental approach is nearly identical. That means any Toyota owner can close the gap significantly by simply addressing the wear points that Toyota's cost-driven rubber cannot survive long-term. Now, let me address something important. Polyurethane is firmer than rubber. That is a fact. Some people worry that upgrading to polyurethane bushings will make the ride harsher. In the case of stabilizer bar bushings and end links, this concern is almost entirely unfounded. The stabilizer bar does not carry any of the vehicle's weight. It only engages when there is a difference in suspension travel between the left and right sides, which happens during turns, lane changes, and uneven road surfaces. During straight-line driving over smooth roads, the stabilizer bar is essentially passive. This means firmer bushings in this location do not transmit additional harshness into the cabin. What they do is eliminate the clunks, rattles, and vague handling caused by worn rubber. The net result is a ride that actually feels smoother because unwanted noises and movements are gone. Where polyurethane can introduce noticeable firmness is in the front lower control arm bushings. These bushings sit inside the pressed steel or aluminum control arms that connect the front wheels to the subframe. They carry a significant portion of the vehicle's weight and absorb impacts directly from the road surface. Upgrading these to polyurethane will sharpen steering response and cornering precision, but it will transmit slightly more vibration into the cabin. For drivers who prioritize handling, this trade-off is worth it. For drivers who want the smoothest possible ride, the better strategy is to replace worn control arm bushings with fresh original equipment manufacturer rubber units and save the polyurethane upgrade exclusively for the stabilizer bar system. This is the approach that delivers the Lexus ride feel on a Toyota budget. Fresh, OEM rubber where weight is carried. Polyurethane where force is transferred. That combination gives you the isolation and comfort of factory-spec damping at the contact points, while gaining the precision and durability of polyurethane at the stabilizer mounting points. Total cost for both stabilizer bar bushings and a set of end links sits comfortably under $50 for most Toyota models, including the Camry, Corolla, RAV4, Highlander, Avalon, and even the Tacoma and Tundra trucks. There is one more factor that amplifies this entire upgrade, and it costs nothing. Tire pressure. Toyota specifies tire pressures on the driver's door jamb placard, but many owners run pressures well above the recommended setting. Running 40 to 44 pounds per square inch in tires rated for 32 to 35 makes every surface imperfection feel like a pothole. The tires cannot flex and absorb minor impacts the way they were designed to, because the sidewalls become too rigid from overinflation. Dropping tire pressure to the manufacturer's recommended setting after installing fresh bushings creates a dramatic improvement in ride comfort. The suspension can finally do its job the way it was engineered to, and the tires work with the system instead of against it. This brings us back to the central point. Lexus and Toyota are not separated by engineering philosophy. They are separated by component quality at specific wear points. The platforms are shared. The architecture is shared. Even many part numbers cross-reference between brands. The difference in ride quality comes down to bushing compounds, assembly tolerances, and sound insulation, all things that degrade over time regardless of how much you paid for the vehicle. A 10-year-old Lexus ES with original bushings rides worse than a Toyota Camry with fresh polyurethane stabilizer bushings and new end links. That is not an opinion. That is materials science. For $22, you can replace the single most neglected wear item in your Toyota suspension with a part that lasts 3 to 5 times longer than the original. For under $50, you can refresh the entire front stabilizer system and transform how your car rides, handles, and sounds. No strut replacement, no coilover kits, no $2,000 suspension overhaul, just 2 small polyurethane bushings and a pair of end links that take less than an hour to install with a floor jack and a basic socket set. That is the upgrade no one talks about because it does not look impressive. It does not add horsepower. It does not change the appearance of the car. But it changes how the car feels every single mile you drive it. If you're enjoying this video, consider watching the next one, where I share more ways to make your Toyota last well past 300,000 miles.